Hi, this is the Honest Poppy, and welcome to the first session of the Beginner's Pilates workout, where I am going to teach you how to do Pilates correctly from the beginning. We're going to start with some fundamental exercises such as ab prep, breaststroke prep, and you're going to use these exercises as you go forward into your other Pilates workouts. We're also going to introduce to the 100 today, to some leg exercises, some core work, some shoulders, but all at a pace that's going to help you to be introduced to the movements and activations that you're going to need to get the most out of your workouts going forward. We're going to start with the warm-up. So if you're new to Pilates and you haven't watched my beginner's warm-up video, please take a look at that first because it helps you to understand the Pilates principles, the cues, and the finer movements that you're going to need to understand as you go through this session. If you have done those things or you feel confident that you do understand them, then let's get started. To start our warm-up, we're going to start with breathing. I like to start breathing in a seated position. You can do this lying down or standing up or just sitting ordinarily, however you feel comfortable. But I like to do it with this position with your feet in front of you where we flex through the spine just to help to mobilize to start with. So you're going to start sitting up tall. If you feel really uncomfortable in this position, you can sit on a cushion to help. You're going to breathe in to prepare and out as you roll forwards from your neck all the way down and over your legs, just comfortably reaching your arms forward, relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your neck, and just letting your rib cage move freely while you breathe. So I want you to focus on breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth through pursed lips, controlling the flow of the air. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Once you feel like you're in a comfortable rhythm, I want you to try and direct your breath into the sides of your rib cage. So as you breathe in, think about your ribs expanding towards the walls of the room. And as you breathe out, think about pulling them away, still keeping your shoulders relaxed. Be careful not to lift your shoulders when you do this. We're going to do 2 more breaths. And then on your last breath, you're going to breathe in. And as you breathe out, you're going to roll yourself back up to that sitting upright position, starting at the base of your spine and finishing with your head. We're going to go down one more time. So breathe in to prepare, out as you roll forwards again, starting with your head, rolling down and just bending over your legs. But this time when you breathe in, I want you to think about breathing into the back of your rib cage. So feel your rib cage expand towards the wall behind you. And then when you breathe out, imagine pulling your ribs away from that wall as they squeeze all the air out through your pursed lips. We're going to do 2 more breaths. And on your final breath, breathing in. And as you breathe out, roll yourself back up to neutral again. Moving on to your pelvic floor activation. So you're going to lie on your back now. Usually when I ask you to lie on your back in a neutral spine and a neutral pelvis, I want you to lie in this position with your feet on the mat and your knees slightly bent, wherever they feel comfortable. They don't have to be too close to you or too far away, just in a position where you feel like you can be in a neutral pelvis. And remember, a neutral pelvis is where the 3 bones of your pelvis, so your pubic bone and these 2 bones on top here, are level with the ground. Don't worry about what your back is doing. Everybody's got a slightly different posture, so your back might even be flat against the mat when you're in a neutral position. Rather focus on the top of your pelvis so that you know you're in that neutral position and nice and comfortable. Also bear in mind that for most of us, especially when you start Pilates, getting into a neutral position doesn't feel particularly comfortable because a lot of us are out of neutral when we feel comfortable. So try and work as close to that neutral position as possible where you feel comfortable and relaxed and resting your arms at your side. Moving into the pelvic floor, you're going to relax your whole body and you can even close your eyes while you do this so that you can focus into that muscle that sits at the bottom of your pelvis. Okay, this is a muscle that you would clench if you needed to stop yourself going to the toilet, if you were desperate and you weren't quite there yet. That's the muscle we're looking for. So there's no movement when we contract this muscle. Nobody can see if it's working, you can't see if it's working, you just have to feel if it's working, which can be a little bit abstract sometimes. So this one takes a bit of concentration, and that's why I recommend closing your eyes. Okay, you're going to work with a breath pattern of breathing in and being relaxed. And then as you breathe out, I want you to think about contracting your pelvic floor. To start with, you can contract it quite hard. This is a good way to try and find that muscle, to connect with it, to be able to switch it on more easily. And then we'll slowly bring the strength of that contraction down. So to start with, you're going to breathe in and relax. And then as you breathe out, you're going to contract your pelvic floor. As you breathe in, relax it again. As you breathe out, contract it. Relax when you breathe in, contract when you breathe out, relax when you breathe in, and contract when you breathe out. Now, as we move forward with these beginners workouts, I will slowly start to add a little bit more detail to the pelvic floor contractions. But for now, just learning how to switch it on and switch it off with that breath pattern is the most important thing. The next muscle we're going to move on to is transversus. This is also a core muscle. It's a core abdominal muscle that sits underneath all your other abdominal muscles, and its job is to stabilize. It stabilizes your pelvis and it stabilizes the rest of your abdominals so that they can work effectively. It's really good at helping to keep your lower back safe. So it's very important, especially when you're doing abdominal exercises, that you're able to activate transversus to protect your back. Okay, now transversus, if you remember, is where you feel in from these bones at the top of your pelvis and find this squashy bit over here. And if you were to cough or to laugh or sneeze, you would feel that that muscle tightens up underneath your fingertips automatically. That's your transversus muscle. So to activate this muscle, you're going to imagine either thinking about sliding these bones towards each other. So what would you do if you were trying to pull them closer to each other? Or if you have your fingertips on top here, think about pulling down and away from your fingertips. Don't push into your fingertips, pull away from your fingertips. The breath pattern really helps as well, and it's the same as the pelvic floor one. So you're going to breathe in, relaxed. As you breathe out, you're going to contract transversus. As you breathe in, relax. As you breathe out, contract transversus. So keep going with that breath pattern, and if you'd like to combine your pelvic floor contraction at the same time, that's great, because these muscles like to work together. They stabilize your pelvis. So breathing in and relaxing, breathing out and contracting. Now, if you're new to Pilates, you might find it's quite difficult to activate this muscle. It doesn't contract strongly, or it doesn't hold the contraction for very long. This is the type of muscle that needs lots and lots and lots of practice. So the more you do this exercise, the better it will get and the stronger it will get. Keep going. I know it can be difficult, but just keep practicing. You can practice transversus contractions anywhere, anytime. You can do them in bed, you can do them in the car, you can do them sitting at your desk, you can do them anywhere. So the more you practice, the better it will get. Our next exercise is going to be hip release. So this is about mobilizing your hip joint while you keep your stability in your pelvis using those abdominal core stabilizing muscles. So you're going to breathe in to prepare. As you breathe out, you're going to take your knee out to the side, only as far as it can go without pulling your pelvis round. You want to keep your pelvis still, and you want to keep the other leg still as well. So just take it out to where it feels comfortable, and then slide your foot away. Roll your leg back to that neutral position, so with your knee and your foot up to the ceiling, and then bend it back to where you started. So you breathe out as your leg moves away from you, and in as you bring it back towards you. Out as you take it away, and in as you bring it towards you. It often helps if you're struggling to keep everything still to imagine there's some resistance there. So imagine pushing your leg out to the side. If somebody was holding it there and pushing a heavy box away with your foot, and then imagine pulling back on an elastic band. The more resistance you create, the more activity you get, and the more stability you will feel. You can also press your other foot gently down into the mat, and that's going to help stabilize your pelvis a little bit more as well. Okay, Then we're going to change direction. So now you're going to slide your foot forwards first, roll your leg out, bend your knee, and then bring it up to center. Sliding away, rolling out, bend, and up to center. And again, you're keeping your pelvis still, keeping your other leg still as well. Okay, once you've done those repetitions, you go over to the other side. Take your knee out to the side, slide away, roll in, and bring it back. Remember with this exercise that your feet move in a straight line, forwards and backwards. They don't go out to the side, they just move forwards and backwards. It's just your knee that moves out as your hip rotates. One more in this direction and then we'll change. Change direction, going straight, roll your leg out, bend your knee and bring it up to center for 3, 2, and 1. And back to center again. The next exercise we're going to do is called hip rolls. So tuck your feet a little bit closer. Make sure that your hips, your knees, and your feet are all in line with each other and your legs are in parallel. They need to stay here. I often see when people do this exercise that the knees come apart as you roll up and roll down. Try not to do that. And if you're struggling to keep your legs still, just place something between your knees, like a tennis ball or a cushion, and that just helps you to keep those knees close to each other. Not together, but close to each other. You're going to start in a neutral position. You're going to breathe in to prepare, and then out as you roll through that posterior tilt of your pelvis. Curl through your lower back as you come up off the mat, and finish in neutral. Now I say neutral because I want your rib cage flat on your tummy, which means your abs are working to stabilize you. I don't want you extending your back here. You should not feel this in your back. Okay, you shouldn't be popping the rib cage up. Everything should be nice and stable and in a straight line. You're going to breathe in to stay, and then out as you roll down, bringing your rib cage down first, curling your lower back, tilting all the way back to neutral with your pelvis. So breathe in to prepare, out as you roll up, make sure your knees stay neutral as well. Breathe in to stay, and out as you roll down again. Breathe in to prepare, out as you roll up. In to stay, and out as you roll down. We're going to do one more of these, in to prepare, out as you roll up, and this is a great mobilizer for your spine and an activator for the abdominals. In to stay, and out as you roll back down to the mat and back to neutral. The next warm-up exercise is called spinal rotation. For this one, it's the only one that I'd recommend that you either have a piece of equipment or you use a cushion or a rolled up towel under your head. So I've got one of these blocks. They're usually quite easy to get hold of. Just something about this height to have under your head for when you're lying on your side. Because if you lie on your side without anything, you're going to feel quite uncomfortable with your neck in this position. So for spinal rotation, you're going to have your head on something, lying on your side. You're going to reach your arms out in front of you. Now, the important thing is that you're lying on your arm. You're not lying on your rib cage down here, because what my spine is doing when I lie like this is just curving sideways, which we don't want for this exercise. So make sure you're on your arm. You've got a gap between your shoulder and whatever your head is resting on. And then you're going to bring your hips and knees to 90 degrees so that you're in a nice straight line, reaching your arms out in front of you. Spinal rotation is about rotating the middle part of your spine. So your lower back and your pelvis need to stay still, and your shoulders need to just move with your body as you come around. Your neck is also going to rotate with you so that you don't leave your head behind. So you're going to keep your eyes on your hand. You're going to breathe in as you reach your hand up to the ceiling, watching your hand so your head has come with you. Then you're going to breathe out as you rotate just your rib cage round. So everything below my rib cage has stayed still. My knees have not moved. If your knees are sliding, that's your telltale sign that your pelvis is moving. Okay, so breathing in as you reach up, out as you rotate just your rib cage round. Now don't be surprised if you don't go very far. Be careful not to drop your shoulder back. Keep your arm in line with your chest. You're going to breathe in to stay and think about expanding your rib cage. Breathe out to stay, relax into it. Breathe in to stay. And then as you breathe out, I want you to pull yourself back round and imagine you're pulling on an elastic band. So you're going to use your obliques to rotate your chest all the way back round to where you started. So you're breathing in as you reach up, out as you rotate. In to stay, out to stay. In to stay, out as you pull yourself back round. We're going to do one more on this side. In as you reach up and out as you rotate. In to stay and out to stay. In to stay and out as you pull yourself back round. All this time I've kept my tummy and my rib cage off the mat so that I'm active the whole way through this exercise. We're going to flip over and do the other side now. So once again, on this side, I'm lying on my arm. I have a gap between my shoulder and whatever my head is resting on. My hips and knees are 90 degrees and my tummy and rib cage are off the mat. I'm active in my abs. I'm not squeezing them, but I'm just keeping everything nice and stable. You're going to breathe in as you reach up to the ceiling, out as you rotate your rib cage round. Breathe in to stay and out to stay, in to stay, and out as you twist back round, keeping your spine in that neutral so it's not sagging down. We're just rotating the spine. In as you reach up and out as you rotate. Now don't be surprised if one side rotates more than the other. That's very common, very normal. Breathing in to stay and out to stay, in to stay, and out as you twist back round, creating some resistance, activating the abs. Last one, in as you reach up and out as you rotate. In to stay, out to stay. Don't forget to keep your eyes on your hands so your neck has followed your spine. And last one, in to stay and out as you twist yourself back round again. Then we're going to move on to cat stretch. So you're going to go onto all fours for this one, on your hands and knees. Make sure that your start position is neutral. And when I say a neutral start position, what I mean is I want your hands directly below your shoulders. So not too far forward and not too far back, not too wide. They need to be directly below so that your arm is vertical. You're going to have your knees directly below your hips as well. So again, be careful you haven't taken your knees too far back. That's going to make your base of support bigger, which your body is going to do if you're lacking strength and stability. So just make sure you check your hands and knees, make sure that everything is in neutral, and then finally that your back is relatively flat in this position. This is your start position. You're going to breathe in to prepare, and as you breathe out, you're going to tuck in from your pelvis first, round your lower back, moving all the way up and finishing with your head down. You're going to breathe in to stay, and then out as you move into extension. Now don't drop your tummy here. Make sure you keep your abs on as you stick your bottom out first, move through your lower back, all the way up. Keep your shoulders active as well. Don't drop into your shoulders. Keep pushing away from the mat and keep pulling your shoulders down and away from your ears. In to stay, out as you tuck in and round your spine, pulling your back up to the ceiling. Breathe in to stay and out as you extend. Now remember, when we do cat stretch, try to move sequentially through your spine from your pelvis to your head rather than in one big movement. Breathe in to stay, out as you tuck and round for your final set. In to stay and out as you extend. And then bring yourself back to that neutral position. We're going to go into scapular protraction and retraction. Your scapula is your shoulder blade. So this is that exercise where we were moving slightly lower towards the mat as your shoulder blades move towards your spine, and then pushing away from the mat as your shoulder blades moved away from your spine. This is about those shoulder blades moving in the lateral plane, so a side-to-side plane, where they're going to be moving towards your spine and away from your spine. So try to keep your upper traps switched off. These are these muscles here that are going to pull your shoulders up towards your ears. Keep your shoulders away from your ears. Keep your back flat, keep your abs on, and breathe in as you lower your chest just slightly down towards the mat. As you breathe out, push yourself away from the mat. Keep your elbows straight as you lower and push away. And feel your shoulder blades moving on your back towards your spine and away from your spine. Two more. Breathe in as you lower out as you push away. Last one, in as you lower, out as you push away, and then find your neutral again. Finally, we're going to move on to arm circles. So you're going to lie on your back again for this one. And this is also a scapular mobilization, so moving your shoulder blades, but in a rotation movement. So you're going to lie on your back with your arms reaching up to the ceiling, your palms are facing each other, and you're going to keep your arms straight the whole way through. Also, try your best to keep your rib cage flat, which is relatively easy when you're here reaching up to the ceiling, but once you take your arms overhead, your ribs are going to want to pop up because you're going to try to reach too far with your arms. So what I'd like you to do is find the position that you feel comfortable where your arms are overhead, but you can still hold your rib cage down, okay? So the abs are working to stabilize your rib cage while your arms are moving. Be careful you don't end up extending your back and flopping around like this, because that's not the key to this warm-up exercise. So keep your arms reaching up. You're going to breathe in to prepare, out as you go overhead to wherever your overhead position is, and then circle around to your hips. Breathe in as you come up through the middle again. Breathe out as you go over and round, and in as you come up through the middle. Think about stretching your arms away from your body. Imagine you can make them longer. Last one in this direction, and then when you get to your hips, you're going to stop and breathe in, and as you breathe out, circle the other way. So round and up the back, still keeping your rib cage down. Breathe in as you lower your arms to your hips again. Out as you go round and up, and in as you come down. 3, 2, last one. And then bring your arms down to rest at your sides on the mat. We're going to do elevation and depression now of the shoulder blades. So you're going to breathe in as you bring your shoulders up to your ears, and breathe out as you stretch your hands to your feet. Try and keep your whole arm in contact with the mat while you do this, so that your chest stays nice and wide and you don't round your shoulders. So breathe in as you bring your shoulders to your ears, out as you stretch to your feet. In and out. Bringing them to your ears and stretching away. 2 more, in and out. Last one, and out. And then relax your shoulders. And the final exercise for your warm-up is the head nod. So for your head nod, you're going to start with your gaze looking up at the ceiling. Where you're looking is your gaze. And then you're going to take your gaze down towards your knees. And as you do that, your head will do a small tilt. So keep your head on the mat. It's just going to pivot slightly as your chin drops slightly. Don't jam your chin down into your chest, okay? It doesn't have to be a big movement. It's just a small tilt of the head, and then release back looking at the ceiling. Breathing in as you nod, and out as you release. This is called a head nod, and this is what we're going to do in preparation for a lot of our flexion exercises. So you will hear the word head nod quite a lot. In as you nod, and out as you release. Last one, breathe in as you nod, and out as you release. And that wraps up our warm-up. We're going to move on to the workout now. So get yourself a drink, get yourself prepared, and then we'll go on to that next. We're going to start with the imprint today. Now, I usually do imprinting in the warm-up, but I find that with my beginners, it needs quite a lot of extra work and a lot of extra time to get imprinting right. It's a bit of a tricky concept and a tricky exercise to get right, so it does take quite a bit of practice. Because imprinting is designed to protect your lower back when you're doing abdominal exercises, I really spend a lot of time trying to get this right, because it's really important that you don't leave your Pilates sessions with a sore back. So to start with, you're going to lie on your back in a neutral spine and a neutral pelvis. Now, the concept of an imprint is to use your abdominal muscles to stabilize your lower back by pulling your pelvis into a posterior tilt, so that when you do exercises where your legs are up in the air, where both legs are up in the air, you're not straining your back to keep them there. Okay, so when we do imprint and release as a warm-up exercise, you're going to start in neutral. I'm going to move my hands up here so that you can see more clearly, but you would have your arms resting at your sides. You're starting in neutral, and you're going to breathe in to prepare. And as you breathe out, you're going to pull your hip bones towards your rib cage. think about pulling with the abdominals rather than pushing with your legs or tucking in with your bottom. Sometimes it can be tricky to try and get the glutes and the hamstrings to switch off and the feet not to press into the mat, because naturally when we tilt the pelvis in this way, we usually use all of those muscles together. However, when you're going to use an imprint for an abdominal exercise where your legs are up in the air, it's not going to help you if you've been using your legs to get there and then you lift them up and you lose that imprint. So it's really important that you use the abdominals and not the legs or the glutes. So for the practice, you're going to breathe in to prepare and out as you imprint, pulling your hip bones towards your rib cage. As you breathe in, you release back to neutral. You should feel movement in your pelvis. There should be some rocking. Depending on the amount of range of movement you have available, it might be a small movement, it might be a big movement, but there should definitely be some movement to indicate that you've tilted your pelvis and you're stabilizing using the abdominals. Breathing in to prepare, out as you imprint, in as you release, back to neutral. So if you're finding this difficult, please practice it. Practice it in between doing sessions just so that you can get the hang of it. You're tilting the pelvis back and then releasing. If you're not sure whether you're doing it correctly, there is a test, and this is what we're going to do in the warm-up every time as well. You're going to go into an imprint and then you're going to bring your legs off the mat, but always one at a time. So I always like to start with bringing one leg up and then bringing it down, and immediately you'll feel there's extra strain on the abdominals when you do that, so that you know that you're having to work to stabilize as your leg moves. We're going to bring that leg up to tabletop, bring it down again. You're holding that imprint now and trying not to start pressing into the mat with the other leg. Bring it up one more time and bring it down. Now we're going to go over to the other leg. So lifting. Now if you notice that you've moved when you lift your leg, that's because you're not holding on to your imprint. You need to strengthen those abs and get used to holding yourself in that position while your leg moves. Nothing should be moving here, okay? There's also a misconception that your back has to be flat against the mat when you imprint. It doesn't. It depends on your posture and your skeleton and the position of your bones. Your back will move towards the mat, but it doesn't necessarily have to be flat on the mat. In my experience, most people's backs will be flat on the mat, but don't think of that as the key point that you're looking for, okay? So you're in that imprint, you're holding that imprint, and you've done your single leg lifts now, breathing in as you lift and out as you lower. And then the real test, where there's absolutely no way to cheat, is the double lift, okay? And again, always one leg at a time. Please don't lift your legs like this and drop them down, because you do put a lot of unnecessary strain on your lower back when you do that. So always do one leg at a time. Going into your imprint, bring one leg up, followed by the other, and then one leg down, followed by the other. So let's bring it in with that breath pattern. You're gonna breathe in to prepare, out as you imprint, in for a long inhale as you lift one, and then the other. If you want to break this up into 2 breaths, you can. So you can breathe in as you lift, out and stay, then in as you lift the other leg, out and stay, in to prepare, out as you lower, either in one exhale, or you can hold it and break it up into 2 if you need that extra time to hold on to your imprint, okay? So let's go again. In to prepare, out as you imprint, in as you lift your legs, one at a time, out as you lower. And again, you'll know if your imprint has dropped out when you've lifted your legs, it's because your abs need to be doing more work and you shouldn't be pushing with your legs or squeezing in with your glutes. Okay, keep going with the leg lifts. Try and hold your imprint all the way through this time, bringing the legs up one at a time and down one at a time, still holding onto your imprint, breathing in as you lift, out as you lower, and one more, in as you lift, and out as you lower, and then release that imprint so you're back to a neutral pelvis. Okay, and that's imprinting and releasing. We're going to move on to ab prep next. Now, ab prep is about flexion, which means bending forward. Flexion of the thoracic spine, which is the upper part of your spine where your chest area is, okay? So we want to be bending that area, but we don't ever want to leave the head behind or pull ourselves forward with our head, because you're going to put strain onto your neck. And that's where the head nod comes in. Now, remember the head nod from the warm-up? We do that to activate the neck, but also to practice head nod for the exercises that are coming. So I'm going to show you ab prep first, and then I'm going to talk you through how to do it. You're going to breathe in with a head nod, out as you come up into your ab prep position, in to stay, and out as you come back down. So what I'm doing when I come into ab prep, I do my head nod as I breathe in so that I set my neck and my head in the right position, that they stay with my body as I come up, and the curve of my neck follows the curve of my spine. I haven't left my head behind, and I haven't pulled myself forward by my neck and my chin going into these neck muscles, which is just going to feel really uncomfortable. Now, you may find that if the abdominals are not quite strong enough, you will feel your neck aches a little bit with these kinds of exercises. Whenever that happens, try and think about pulling your rib cage down to your tummy and really working into the abs as much as possible. If you find it difficult to get a head nod right, you can always place a small ball under your chin, and that also helps to keep your head in the right position as you come up and not to over protract your neck. So having a little tennis ball or some of these stress balls are quite handy. You just hold it underneath your chin and your head will tend to stay in a better position as you do this. The other thing to remember when you come up is you don't want to leave your arms behind, because that's going to pull on your shoulders. So you want to hover your arms up at your sides, but just in line with your shoulder. So you just don't leave them behind. You don't want to be pulling them forward and working too hard into the shoulders, and we're not reaching them up for this exercise either. They're just hovering there, and then as you come down, they relax at your sides again. Okay, so the cue to remember with this one is pulling your rib cage down to your tummy and keeping your pelvis in neutral. Again, it's very tempting to pull all the abs into action and tilt the pelvis backwards when we do this. I want you to learn to control using just the upper abdominals when you do ab prep. So let's give it a go. You're going to breathe in with a head nod. That's where you take your gaze down to your knees. As you breathe out, you're going to bring your shoulders up off the mat. Keep your eyes on your knees, keep your head with your body, and hover your arms at your sides. Breathe in to stay, and then out as you lower yourself back down to your start position. In to prepare, head nod, out as you come up. Eyes on your knees, keep your pelvis neutral. In to stay, and out as you come back down. In to prepare, head nod, out as you come up. In to stay, and out as you come down. We're going to go for one more of these. In to prepare with a head nod, out as you come up. Pull your rib cage down to your tummy, just hovering your arms gently at your sides. In to stay, and out as you come back down to the mat. Moving on to breaststroke prep now. Breaststroke prep is about extension of the thoracic spine. So basically we're doing the opposite movement to what we just did in ab prep. We are extending, which means to bend backwards in the thoracic spine, which is the upper chest area of your spine where your rib cage is. Now naturally the curve of your spine has extension in your lower back and flexion in your upper back. So what's going to happen with this exercise is your body is naturally going to want to extend into your lower back like this position I'm in now. That is not the exercise. Okay, the exercise is about extending a part of your spine that tends to generally be quite stiff in a flexed position. So we're trying to mobilize it and get it to just loosen up in the other direction to what it's used to. So it's a very small movement, it's a very subtle movement. Don't expect a huge amount of extension in this part of your spine. It's just mobilizing and loosening up. So your start position is going to be with your hands at your sides in a W shape. I say a W shape because they look like a W, okay? And your hands are going to be in line with your ears. So not too far forward, not too far back, just in line with your ears. And you're going to start with your face down on the mat, which is a little bit uncomfortable, but you won't be there very long. Okay, and we're going to do a reverse head nod now. So the concept is the same with the reverse head nod. You're going to tilt your neck slightly so that when you come up into extension, you haven't left your head behind and you haven't overextended your neck, which is going to cause problems. So to do a reverse head nod, you're going to imagine there's a pen on the mat in front of your nose, and you're going to roll that pen away with your nose, and as soon as your nose leaves the mat, you stop. That's a reverse head nod. It's a very, very subtle, very small movement. And if you want to learn a little bit more about this, have a look at my beginner's warm-up video where I discuss it in more detail. Okay, so your breaststroke prep looks like this. You're going to breathe in with a reverse head nod. Breathe out as you extend your thoracic spine. So it's just my upper back that I'm extending. I'm lifting my chest away from the mat, but not necessarily off the mat, okay? It depends what kind of range you have. I'm just coming away from the mat and then coming back down again. I'm supporting myself with my arms. I'm not pushing with my arms, but I'm supporting myself. So breathe in with a reverse head nod. Out as you extend. Now for the ladies, it helps to think about where your bra strap area is. That's where you should be feeling that bend. For the men out there, it should be kind of at the bottom of your shoulder blades, that kind of area that you should be feeling, okay? So breathe in, reverse head nod. Breathe out as you extend, keep it small and keep your shoulders stabilized. Breathe in to stay and out as you come back down to the mat again. Make sure you're not feeling this in your lower back. Breathe in, reverse head nod. Out as you extend. In to stay. And out as you come down. Be careful you're not extending your neck too much or leaving your head behind. Remember that reverse head nod, coming up on the exhale, and you're still kind of looking down at your mat. Breathe in to stay, and out as you come back down. We'll do one more. In to prepare with the reverse head nod. Out as you extend. Breathe in to stay, and out as you come back down. And then we're going to follow that with a shell stretch. Now, a shell stretch is something that we do after every extension exercise, just to get this, the spine stabilized back into neutral again. A shell stretch is not a child's pose, so we're not lying down on your lap. It's an active stretch, so you're going to come back. You're going to actively round your spine. So imagine you've got a ball in your lap. You're going to round your spine, and then take a deep breath in, and you'll feel all the back muscles stretch. And then as you breathe out, you're going to roll yourself back up to neutral again. Now, if you find that uncomfortable and you can't sit back on your heels like this, you can just do a cat stretch, rounding your spine, and roll yourself up like that. Now that you understand ab prep and imprinting, we can combine the two to create the exercise called the 100. Now, you've probably heard of the 100 or seen the 100 or even tried the 100 a few times, either in a class or following a video. It is a very popular Pilates exercise, and there are many modifications. So I like to use the 100 in different ways for different reasons. I'm going to teach you how to do the 100, and I'm going to give you different modifications. So based on your strength, your ability to imprint, your strength of your ab prep, and your endurance in those muscles, you'll be able to try different versions of the 100. Flexibility also comes into it with regards to your legs and how far you're able to stretch your legs away and what position you can keep them in when you do that. So let me show you a classic position of 100, and then I'm going to give you the modifications, and I'd like you to try the easiest version first. If that's easy enough, then you can go into a more difficult option. Okay, so for your 100, it's an exercise where your legs are going to be up in the air. Both legs are up, so you need to stabilize your lower back with an imprint. This is where the imprint is key. You're going to breathe in to prepare and out as you imprint. Then once you feel happy that you're imprinted and you're stable, bring your legs up one at a time to tabletop. This is your start position for the 100. You're going to breathe in with a head nod and then out as you come up into ab prep and stretch your legs away on the diagonal. This is your classic 100 position. Now, depending on how strong you are, you can either take your legs lower down or keep them quite high up. And I want you to think about stretching your legs as straight as possible. If the thought of being in this position is already scaring you, don't worry, look for the next modification. But this is what you're aiming for in future. And what you're going to do through the 100 is you're going to be pulsing your arms quite quickly as you breathe in for a count of 5 and out for a count of 5 100 times. And that is why it's called the 100. Okay, so the modifications that we have for the 100 is we can be in a tabletop position, which is a good introductory level where you're having to hold that ab prep position, practice your breathing, practice your arms, keep an imprint, but you don't have too much pressure on the abs with your legs in this position. If that is too difficult, you can stay down here and practice pulsing and breathing, or you can be up in the ab prep position, but with your feet on the mat and practice the pulsing and breathing in this position. So you need to work out where your strong points are and where your difficult points are. Getting the hang of the breathing takes a bit of practice, and I encourage people to breathe in and out through their mouth for this exercise. Because you have to constantly keep your abdominals on in a sustained position, you need quite a lot of abdominal pressure that we usually get from an exhale. Now we exhale with pursed lips to create that pressure. So if you breathe in through your nose, you lose that pressure on your inhale. And most people, because of the flow of the air through their nose, can't actually breathe in for a count of 5. So what ends up happening is you breathe in for a count of 3, and then you've filled your lungs, and then you hold your breath for the last 2, which is not what we want to be doing when we're doing abdominal exercises. So for the 100, I like to encourage people to breathe in through their mouth and out through their mouth through pursed lips, keeping that abdominal pressure the whole way through. So in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I would suggest you do that. If you don't want to, that's totally fine, but it is likely going to make the exercise quite a lot easier for you. So I'm going to show you the classic 100, but please decide which modification you want to do. So if you are a real beginner and you're still working on strengthening your ab prep and your imprint, then either do this version where you're just in ab prep and pulsing the arms, getting used to the breathing pattern, or if you feel confident with your imprint, but not so confident with your ab prep, then go into an imprint, bring your legs up to tabletop, and do this version where you're staying down with your shoulders, still focusing on pulsing, focusing on your breath, and keeping that imprint all the way through. If you feel like you want to challenge or you want to take a step further, come up to this position. And if you feel like you've got the leg strength and the ab strength and the coordination, then come into the full 100. As you go into more advanced versions of the 100, we're going to be lowering the legs, we're going to be moving them, we're going to bring props in. It does get very interesting, but for now we're going to keep it simple. Okay, so going into an imprint, up into tabletop, breathe in to prepare with a head nod. Out as you come up to ab prep, decide which version you're doing. If you're still on the mat, that's fine. And let's go in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 30, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 40, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 50, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 60, pulse, 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 out, 2, 3, 4, 70, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 80, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 90, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 100. Bring your legs back to tabletop first, bring your head down next, and then bring your legs down one at a time. Please don't collapse out of your 100 as tired as you are. Protect your lower back. Whew. And that takes a lot of breathing, especially when you're talking through. So I'm going to catch my breath and we'll move on to the next exercise. This next exercise is called single leg stretch. And this is the first of a series of quite heavy abdominal exercises that we tend to do in a standard workout. It's going to engage your abs, so your ab prep position. It's going to engage your core, so your imprinting, your transversus, your pelvic floor, and then your legs are going to come into it as well. You're going to be holding yourself up in that position for quite a long time whilst you move your legs around in the air. So both legs are up in the air and now they're going to be moving. So the imprint is really important. Let me demonstrate how single leg stretch works and then I will tell you all the details. So you're going to go into an imprint, come up into tabletop, come up into ab prep with your hands on the sides of your knees. So this is your start position before you've even started doing the exercise. You're going to breathe in to prepare and out as you stretch one leg away and bend the other leg towards you. Now the hand choreography is that your hand reaches away on the outside and the other one touches the knee on the inside. And then you're going to switch and switch and switch and switch. The whole time you're keeping your stability here, so we're not rocking around, we're not losing that imprint. And again, to start with, you can keep your legs quite high, so you're not having to work too hard here and you're not pulling out of that imprint. You're just going to stretch and stretch And then as you feel stronger, you can take your legs lower and lower, but please don't go so low that you lose that stability. Okay, it's more important that you keep yourself up here, you keep your imprint, and you stretch your leg away as far as you can. Really work into those muscles in your leg. Okay, so that's where we're going to start with this one. You're going to go into an imprint first. Bring your legs up one at a time. Make sure you feel happy you haven't lost your imprint while your legs are up there. You're going to breathe in with a head nod, out as you come up to your ab prep position, and hold yourself up there with your hands on the sides of your knees. Breathe in to prepare, and out as you stretch one leg and bend the other leg. Then switch, and switch, and switch, and switch. If you want to go a little bit lower, reach the leg away on the diagonal, but all the while stretching that leg, pointing your toe, imagining you're trying to touch the window or the wall in front of you. Stretch and stretch. If you notice that your neck is starting to ache, either place a ball underneath here or focus on pulling those abs a little bit harder. It's because your abs are starting to release and your neck is trying to do all the work. So stretch and stretch. 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then come back to tabletop. Bring your head down once again. Please don't drop out of your imprint. So one leg at a time coming down. I know you're tired, but do this carefully and then release your imprint. We're going to move into the leg exercises now, and this exercise is called side leg lift series. It's a series of leg exercises, so there are 5 of them, and we're going to do both sides. So we're going to start on the one side, do all 5 exercises, and then flip over and go onto the other side. You will need something underneath your head here because, as I said before, if you're lying on your side and your head is on the mat, you're going to be in a very uncomfortable position for your neck. So whether you have one of these blocks or a rolled up towel or a cushion, just anything comfortable underneath your neck will be good. Okay, you're going to lie on your side and you need to make sure that you are in neutral. Now, when I say you should be in neutral, I mean make sure that your legs aren't here. Often if you don't check your legs, they could actually be in a completely wrong position, but they don't feel like they are. So always look down at your feet, make sure your body is in a straight line, okay? Make sure you haven't rotated your pelvis either. A classic thing that I often see is that if you're stronger in the front of your thighs, you will tend to roll backwards so that you can use that part of your leg. If you're stronger at the back, people tend to roll forwards so that they can use the back of their leg. Okay, make sure that you're using the side of your leg. The other thing I want you to be careful of is that you're not hanging out down here and just relaxing the abs. This is actually a secret ab workout as well because you have to stabilize and use your core a lot. So make sure your tummy and your rib cage are up off the mat. And even if they're not off the mat, make sure that that line of your spine is nice and horizontal and straight. So work to hold yourself up there, keeping your pelvis neutral so your hip bones are stacked one on top of the other. Okay, the first exercise of side leg lift series is the lift and lower. Now, this is not an aerobics class, it's Pilates, so it's about lengthening, it's about activating all of the muscles in your leg. So when I say lift, I don't want you to lift your leg as high as possible because look what's happened to my pelvis. My tummy is down on the mat, I've tilted my pelvis, and I'm actually not getting as much out of this exercise as I should be if I did a much smaller movement. So keep this all still. Think about stretching your leg away as you lift it and softly putting it down as you lower. And that way you'll be working through a lot of muscles in that limb without even realizing. Okay, so it's not all about the lifting muscle, it's about all of the muscles working together to move gently and with control through the air. Lift and lower. 4 more. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and down. Now, if you feel wobbly and you can't balance, you're more than welcome to put your hand in front of you. Just be careful you don't start pushing with this hand. So just fingertips to help you balance. Number 2 is little circles. So you're going to hover your leg up just a little bit and you're going to do little circles. These are quite quick because they're designed to destabilize you. So you have to use your abs to try and keep yourself from wobbling too much. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now keep that leg there. It shouldn't be too high, okay? This is tricky. It's a staggered leg lift. So this is number 3, the staggered leg lift. The top leg is up, the bottom leg comes to join it. Nothing has happened to my pelvis, okay? It's just my legs moving. And this is tricky because you're going to want to lift and then tilt like that to use your pelvis and your abs and your back to lift that bottom leg. I need just the legs to work. So keep this still. Even if you need to put something underneath your tummy here to cue you, that if you drop here, you're gonna feel it, so a book or something, or have your hand on your hip here, and it helps you to think, okay, keep this still. So we're gonna lift, lift, and lower them together. You're gonna breathe in, and out as you lower. In, and out. 2 more. In, and out. Last one, in, and out. Number 4 of the 5 is the double lift. So now, again, really tricky to keep the pelvis still and just move your legs. You're gonna lift them together and lower them together. Now, the smaller the movement, the better, okay? If you try go too far, you probably just don't even have the range in your hips, so your pelvis will tilt, and then that defeats the point of the exercise. Think about pushing your top leg up with your bottom leg, so you should feel this in the inner thigh, and then lowering down. So we're gonna lift and lower, lift and lower. 2 more, lift and lower. Last one, lift and lower. The final exercise, number 5, you're gonna take whatever was under your head out the way and take your arm up above you, okay? Your hand is gonna be pointed, your palm is gonna be down, because you are going to use this hand to help you. If you feel wobbly, have your other hand in front to help you balance. We're going to be lifting the body and the legs at the same time and balancing, okay? So it looks like this if you're doing the full version, but if you don't have the strength or the balance, you can have that hand in front, okay? You're lifting your legs together, squeezing them together, lifting them as high as you can. I'm just leaning lightly on my arm as I use my abs to hold myself up in this position, and then coming down again. So like I said, you can either have your hand in front to help you balance, but don't push on the mat. You can have it on your hip here, reaching to your feet, or if you feel balanced, you can lift up. Make sure your pelvis hasn't rotated when you do this, okay? And then we're gonna come down and we're gonna go over to the other side. Okay, so side leg lift on the other side now. Make sure you're in a straight line. Make sure you haven't rotated your pelvis and your tummy and your rib cage are up off the mat, or you're making sure that you're active and your spine is in a neutral horizontal. It's not sagging down to the mat. You're gonna breathe in to prepare and out as you lift, in as you lower, lift and lower. 5 and 4, stretch that leg away. 3, 2, 1, keep it there for little circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Other way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Keep it there, make sure it's not too high. Bring the bottom leg up to join it, keeping your pelvis still, keeping this gap, and then coming down to the mat. We're going up, up, and down. Breathing in, and out. In, up, up, down. Last one, up, up, and down. Now together, lift them up and down. You're breathing out as you lift, in as you lower, out as you lift, in as you lower. 2 more, up and down. Last one, up and down. The final one, take your arm out above your head, palm facing down. Either have your hand on your hip in front of you or be ready to lift it up. You're going to breathe in to prepare and out as you come up with your body and your legs, helping a little bit with your arm, but not propping onto your elbow, okay? So everything's having to work together. Lift those legs, squeeze them together. Make sure you haven't rotated. So you're either here or here or here. And then coming down on the inhale, 1 more, breathe in to prepare and out as you come up. And then in as you come down again. And that's your side leg lift. Our final exercise is going to be getting into a little bit of shoulder work, and this is called leg pull front prep. This is one of the least popular exercises only because it's really tough. But it is an extremely effective way to strengthen your shoulders, and after you get this one right, planks will be easy, okay? So I really like to use this exercise quite early on because I find the impact on shoulder strength and core stability is huge the more people do this exercise. So leg pull front prep looks like this. Today we're just gonna start with the first version of this. We're not gonna bring in the leg lifts just yet. You're gonna be on hands and knees. But what I'd like you to do, the difference is you're going to take your knees back a little bit further. So they're not directly below your hips now, they're a little bit further back and they can be a little bit closer together. You can touch them together if you want to. You can leave them apart if you want to, but you can have them slightly narrower than hip width. That's the standard position. Make sure though that when you take your legs back, your body doesn't shift back like this. Your body will naturally do that because your legs are stronger than your arms. So it's going to want to take you back there for support rather than staying here over your arms. Stay over your arms for this exercise. Okay, so make sure your arm is vertical. You're gonna tuck your toes under as well. And what you're gonna be doing with this exercise is you're going to be hovering your knees a very small amount, just a centimeter off the mat. Okay, the higher you go, the easier it gets. So keep it really, really low, okay? So you're gonna stabilize your shoulders, make sure your back is flat. So if anything, tuck your bottom in rather than drop your lower back. Okay, you're gonna flatten everything, make sure your abs are working, and you're gonna breathe in to prepare, out as you hover your knees, breathe in to stay, and out as you bring them back down again. In to prepare, out as you hover, in to stay, and out as you lower back down again. We're going to do 4 more. In to prepare, out as you hover. Make sure you haven't shifted back towards your legs. Stay over your arms and keep your upper trap switched off. In to stay, and out as you lower. Keep your abs working. In to prepare, and out as you hover. In to stay, and out as you lower. And then you can come back, and for this one you can do a child's pose because you can just stretch your shoulders out. It's not a back stretch, it's a nice shoulder stretch. And just hold that as long as you like and roll up when you are ready. And that's leg pull front prep. Well done, you've completed session 1 of the beginner's Pilates workout. I hope that was helpful and the instructions made sense. If you have any comments or questions, please put them below and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. Feel free to repeat this video a few times so that you can practice those exercises before we move on to the next session. Don't forget to subscribe to The Honest Poppy for notifications about session 2 of the beginner's Pilates workout. See you soon.